I'm Dan Huber, and this is the Prosper Group Week in Review. Each week, we take a look at what is happening in digital advocacy and politics with a right of center focus. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Earlier this week, I met up with Bobby Talbot, a strategist here at the Prosper Group, to talk about the subject of this week's blog post, who to talk to before running for office. Here's that conversation. What's the most important thing people should think about as they run for office?
One of the biggest things that you need to do right off the bat is have a good conversation with your family. Running for office is a huge commitment, both time, sometimes financially, but also you got to keep in mind that sometimes things get a little dirty in politics and people are going to drag your family into things. Sometimes they're going to say hurtful things. So you need to have a conversation with your family, kids as well, to see if they're willing to go through that challenge with you. It's really a family endeavor. After that, there's a number of paths that you can take. You can start talking to local leaders, county chairman, state party chairman, finding out who are the influencers, who would be supportive, and start trying to build your coalition. You can also start talking to a general consultant, someone who does this on a professional level, who's worked in your area, knows the district you're going to be running for, and can sort of walk you through and explain what are the demographics, what do you need to do, how do you win. Also talking to a pollster once you get a little further down the line to find out if you have a path to victory. That's a big part of deciding. I always suggest talking to a lot of different people to make this decision, because there are a lot of things that you need to know. There's a lot of, especially for first-time candidates, a lot of things that you'll learn the first time running. After that, there's always talking to the national committees. If you're running for a congressional campaign, going and talking to the NRCC for Senate, the NRSC for governor, the RGA, also the RNC. RNC does a lot of good work on grassroots and will be involved in some capacity in almost every race because of their ground game. But going and talking with them and finding out what their expectations are. A lot of candidates will assume right off the bat that all the committees are naturally just going to jump in and help them, help fund their campaign or help them with resources. Many times that's not the way it works. The campaign or the committees will wait and see if the campaign is being successful, if they're doing the right things, if they're raising money appropriately or in large enough fashion to be competitive. So you can kind of think of it this way. Your campaign is going to have to get down to the 10-yard line. But once you get there, the committees will come in and help you get to the goal line and help you score a touchdown.
How would I go about finding or connecting with a general consultant?
A lot of that will come from talking with the local leaders, state party chairman, county chairman. Many times they know who the consultants are because they work with campaigns, and the campaigns obviously have the consultants, so they naturally intermingle. You can also call up your local legislators. Who have they used? People that you trust and sort of want to model your campaign after. Call up those legislators and ask who they should be talking to. Most of them are very supportive of trying to help good candidates find the right people to run successful campaigns.
Having a better understanding of what you need to do before you run for office and where your mindset needs to be is very helpful there. So that's great. I appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you, Bobby.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks again to Bobby for joining me this week. Now turning the page to social listening, here's a few things we've been following over the past week. We've been watching gun control, which passed the House. There's been a lot of conversation there, but it's died off a little bit. We've been paying attention to what's going on at the border. There's definitely conversation about the influx there. We saw a lot of conversation around the stimulus as checks started going out this week. And of course, we're watching March Madness, and we'll follow that through the tournament. Lots of conversation there that should be fun and exciting to watch. Popping up and listening this week, we saw a few notable posts. A Washington Post conversation about the Washington Post retraction relating to Trump's conversation with the Georgia Secretary of State. There was a lot of conversation about that. We continue to see calls for opening schools and discussion around the California recall conversation. Moving right along, at PG this week, with the tournament starting, we've been talking about our NCAA tournament brackets, and that's going on now. And the post we discussed with Bobby, who you should talk to if you're thinking about running for office. It's great advice, and I think you should look into that. We also have conversation from a couple other strategists here at the Prosper Group, really useful. But we're going to keep it short. That's it for this week. Please subscribe to this podcast, the Prosper Group Week in Review, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a very special thank you to Bobby for joining us today and to you for watching. Thanks and have a great week.